All right, guys, we are back in my garage for another video, and today's video is probably going to be a quick one, but I just want to help you understand why your car probably feels slow out of nowhere. This is actually a pretty common phenomenon that we see experienced by B58 owners, so you're not alone, but I want to give you guys a couple tips and tricks and things that you can look at to consider what's making your car slow or if anything is even wrong in the first place. So let's go ahead and talk about it, and hopefully you guys find this video useful. Now, real quick, before we start, I got a question for you. If you have experienced this phenomenon before, what was your fix? Was it something super deep and diagnostic that you had to take months and months to figure out? Or was the solution just buying a bigger turbo? As always, I'm curious to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment down below and let me know what you've done. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into it. So first things first, as I kind of insinuated, there is a very good chance that nothing is actually wrong. I would probably say half of the people that reach out to me with this problem end up figuring out that nothing has changed on the car. The issue is a lot of B58 owners deal with a problem that is plaguing enthusiasts everywhere. It's called "I got used to the power" syndrome.
Feel anything? No.
And yes, that's something that can happen to all of us. Even if you're making 600 or 700 plus horsepower, eventually you get used to it. And unfortunately, your butt dyno just doesn't get calibrated like it used to. So you really can't trust that feeling that you get in the seat of your pants. So the first thing I would say is you want to make sure that you actually verify your car is slower. If this is something that you've been testing for a while, hopefully you've got some baseline data you can compare it to. So go ahead and get some Dragy runs in and see what your car is actually doing. I highly recommend doing like a 60 to 130 or 100 to 200 pull, just because that can take out some of the variation you can get from trying to do like a 0 to 60 or a quarter-mile run. You'll get maybe a bad launch or different tires and road conditions and stuff. You want to try to take out as much of the variables as you can. So that's why I like just doing a highway pull, and that can give you a point of reference to see if it's a significant difference from what you've seen in the past. Also, this is a reminder, if you haven't done this before, it's probably a good idea to get some baseline numbers so that way you can compare it to what you've done in the past if anything were to change in the future. And it's just nice to have that point of reference so you can gut check if something is actually wrong. Now, maybe your Dragy numbers look the same and nothing really looks kind of crazy from that standpoint, but you can also do a dyno. A dyno is a really good tool to tell if anything weird is going on throughout the rev range. If you're doing your Dragy pull and shifting at redline every time, you might not see if there's a weird torque dip at 4,000 RPM or something like that. And so that's where I think that a dyno would be really nice to see if anything has changed significantly, not just the peak performance figures, but any kind of weird anomalies or kind of weird activity that you can see as you do a pull through the rev range that can give you an idea if something is going wrong, and maybe you can work with your tuner to address it. Now, if you do get those numbers and you see a significant change, just a reminder that ambient conditions do matter. No matter what, your times are going to vary from pull to pull. I like to remind people that a record is a record, not just because anybody that has the same setup can do it, but because it is extremely rare. So if you see somebody say, you know, on a certain setup, they were able to achieve these kinds of numbers and things like that, you can't just compare your car to those numbers. They very well could have much better conditions that allow them to accomplish those glory runs, when in reality, they aren't able to achieve that time every single time or in every single location. So just pay attention to your numbers, especially if you have Dragy times that you're comparing it to. They do a really good job of listing the DA. If you don't know what DA is, that is the density altitude. And I have a full video kind of explaining how DA works. But if your DA is higher than it was during your baseline runs or your glory runs, you know, the best times that you've gotten, that's going to be a significant impact on your times. It could definitely add a couple tenths just because the conditions are worse. So just keep that in mind. Again, if your ambient conditions are different, the car can feel slower. If it's the middle of summer, 100 plus degrees outside, or maybe super overcast and ambient pressure is low, your car is going to be slower than it was when you did that glory run at the end of February. So Yeah, just don't freak out. Nothing could be wrong in that case. There are a lot of different reasons why your car could feel slower with it being completely normal. Now, if you've checked all your times and your data and it seems exactly what you would expect, but you know something was significantly different for that one pull you did a while ago, you very well could have been low on gas. That's also a very common reason why people run into this issue. If your gas light is on and you're below 50 miles to empty, then your car is going to go into a soft limp mode. The reason is because it's trying to protect your engine from fuel starvation. And if you don't know what that is, basically when you accelerate really quickly, the G's that you feel in the driver's seat are also going to impact the fuel in your fuel tank. So the fuel is going to slosh away from the fuel pump, and potentially you can starve your engine of fuel, which would cause you to go lean and potentially damage or blow your engine. So your car is deliberately lowering boost levels and reducing your acceleration for a couple different reasons. One is at lower boost levels, you have a lower fuel demand, so you're less likely to lean things out. And also it slows the car down, so it reduces how much of the fuel is going to slosh away from your fuel pump and reduce the chance of you leaning out your engine. So this is a good thing. It is a safety that is implemented on the DME from the factory. I know some people want to be able to remove this because your next thought might be, well, I want to be able to run my fuel as low as possible so I can reduce the weight in the car and get better performance. And that can work. I have seen some tuners get around that in the tune by disabling those safeties. But just remember what you're risking here. If you want a good Dragy time for some internet points, it's probably not worth it. But I can't really tell you what to do, so that's just something to consider. Also, I will say if you're on full E85, it is a lot less risky because you've probably got 3 or 4 gallons of E85 in the tank at 50 miles to empty, depending on your gas mileage. Compared to, pump gas, you've probably got closer to 2 gallons in the gas tank. So again, just think of the full scope of what you're asking for if you're trying to accomplish that, or just add a little bit of fuel or fill your tank back up and the performance should go back to normal. Now, if that's still not it, now it's time where I would say we want to go through some diagnostics. So first things first, as always, scan for codes. A lot of time I ask people if they have any codes and they say no, simply because there's no check engine light on the dash, there's no drivetrain malfunction on the iDrive, but that's not a 100% indicator that nothing is wrong. So scan the car for codes. You can use your tuning app, MHD, boot mode, MG Flasher, whatever you have. Or if you want to do a more in-depth scan, I recommend using a tool like Bimmerlink that will scan the entire car, whereas MHD and boot mode only really scan the DME for your engine and the transmission. What it's going to miss are other things in your drivetrain that could potentially put the car into a soft limp mode. So that's why I like using tools like Bimmerlink or ISTA to scan the entire car, just to see if there's anything that could be reducing the performance of your car deliberately based on a fault in the control unit somewhere. Another great diagnostic method is to run a log. So if you can, find some space and do a pull just like you would on a dyno and see if anything weird is going on. And a really easy one to check for are boost leaks. So if your wastegate duty cycle is pinned at 100%, but your boost is very low, it's very likely that you have a boost leak somewhere, and you can dig around your engine to see if something's going on. Also check to see if maybe you have excessive timing corrections that could be due to bad gas or a weak ignition system. Maybe your spark plugs are old or your coil packs are wearing out. There could be a lot of different reasons for that. So maybe you just need to flush out the tank and get some new gas in the car. But just go through your log, try to see if there's anything in there that could indicate why the car feels slow, and that will lead you to an idea of what you can do to fix it. As always, you guys can reach out to me and send me a log and I'll try to take a look. But keep in mind, like I've mentioned in the past, my DMs and emails are flooded. So the easiest way to get a hold of me is to hop onto my Patreon. We have a Discord where we all chat, and it's also easier to DM me there, where I can kind of control how many people are reaching out to me at a time and kind of give you more one-on-one support. So check that out. I'll have my Patreon linked in the video description as well. But yeah, those are really the main things that I recommend looking into. Again, I'll say probably 80% of people that reach out to me with this issue find that absolutely nothing is wrong. They're either low on gas, the conditions are worse, or they just got used to the power. So suffice it to say, most times this really isn't a problem or anything to freak out about. Just take a nice methodical approach to how you look into what's actually creating the issue, and hopefully you're like most people and find that there's no problem found. So hopefully this helps you out and answers questions you have. Let me know if you think you have a more specific or unique scenario, and I'll try to help you if I can. But otherwise, I think that's it for this video. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.